The Metro Gold Line is the light rail line that currently runs between East Los Angeles and Pasadena. Integral to the line's completion was the formation of the Metro Gold Line Foothill Extension Construction Authority, a sole-purpose state agency put in place by the legislature to build the line from Union Station to Pasadena, and then to plan and build the Foothill extension of the line, first from Pasadena to Azusa, and then from Azusa to Montclair. The Foothill Extension project is receiving $810 million from LA County's Measure R sales tax to relieve traffic congestion. That funding is enough to complete the first segment of the Foothill extension from Pasadena to Azusa, which includes the design and construction of an $18 million bridge over the I-210 Freeway. The Foothill extension from Pasadena to Azusa began final design and pre-construction in June 2010 and will be completed in late 2014. The bridge, also referred to as the iconic freeway structure, is the first element of the project to begin construction. This episode will provide an in-depth look at the iconic freeway structure commissioned by the Construction Authority. We will examine the evolution of its design and the significant challenges being overcome to construct this critical element of the project.
This bridge, which will break ground just above us, will stretch across the 210 freeway, connecting the existing Sierra Madre Villa station with the future Arcadia station south of the freeway.
The Metro Gold Line was currently running along the median between the two east and west lanes of 210, and then in Arcadia, right near this racetrack, it would veer across the freeway and then head into the center of the town. It's quite an eye-opener when you go to the site, because rather than taking the shortest route from A to B, it's taken the most oblique route. This bridge has stretched itself diagonally across the freeway.
This new bridge will replace the one that was removed following the 1994 Northridge earthquake.
About 10 years ago, there was a bridge across the 210 freeway, and there's kind of a dip just west of Santa Anita where that bridge used to be. There were seismic concerns, and with the efforts to retrofit all the bridges throughout the region, I think it was determined by Caltrans that it was probably best to take that bridge down and set some funding aside for if and when the Gold Line would proceed further east. That time is now, so just in terms of setting the stage for where you used to see the bridge, where there is now a gap in the line, this bridge will fill that gap, and it's going to be very exciting.
I think in this particular site, because you're coming down from the crest of the hill up here at 210, the bridge rises up against the sky, and so there's an opportunity to have a dramatic kind of silhouette.
What was unique about this opportunity is we really saw its placement and location as a gateway element to the San Gabriel Valley, so that people knew as they're either going over the bridge on the train or they're passing under it on the freeway that they're going into a unique place.
Primarily in the whole Los Angeles basin, you cannot tell where you are, especially when the atmosphere is very dense. Street signs and municipal boundary signs are the only real clues. So I think it's important that the icon or the gateway has some direct connection to the place. Somebody who's in this kind of submarine-like environment driving their car needs something as emphatic as that to reassure them that where they are going.
The Construction Authority placed great importance on the design of the $18 million bridge because they wanted it to be a gateway to the San Gabriel Valley, signaling train riders and freeway users that they were entering or exiting a unique place in our region.
I think we've all had that experience in going to places and seeing something that looks very unfamiliar in the landscape and sort of taking a second look at where it is that we're going and where it is that we are. And that was really always the intention of the iconic freeway structure.
Given the significance of creating a regional gateway, the Construction Authority took the responsibility of selecting an artist to envision the design very seriously. The selected artist would not only develop the design concept, he would also advise the design build team as they take it from concept to reality.
The criteria for selection of an artist was that they had to have a certain amount of public art experience, working with a certain size budget on a transit or urban design project. And we asked them to submit a concept idea when they applied. What that did is that allowed the committee, which was again representative stakeholders from Phase 2, to see how the artist would approach developing that concept.
Well, I think you try to make the project simple to build, simple in terms of its form and symbolism. You know, there's no point in doing lots of intricate details on the bridge because no one is going to be able to get up to the bridge and run their hands over it or scrutinize it. So it has to read very, very simply from a distance.
I felt that the competition for selection was really high. And I think the reason why Andrew was selected is because the committee identified him with creating these sort of iconic objects that if you look in the history of a lot of his transit and other types of public art projects that he's created, that he has a very good command of form and of color and of creating interesting destination features.
Andrew Lester recalls what initially attracted him to the project and how his design evolved over time.
The Metro Gold Line put out a brief asking for an artist to be the lead designer of this bridge. Normally, the artist comes in as an afterthought or is delegated or given very specific areas where they can apply their craft and not be allowed to affect the overall, if you will, gestalt of the bridge. That was quite courageous of them, and that's why I think I and a lot of other artists were intrigued by the RFP.
Andrew's original concept for the project was based on the city of Arcadia, where the bridge would be built.
As I started to read about the area, of course, the ubiquitous peacock reared its ugly head. So I thought, well, there's an interesting animal to make some reference to. So anyway, I presented this to the committee, and then later in the day, as I was waiting at the airport to get my flight back to Minneapolis, I got a phone call saying that I'd been picked to do the project with one caveat, and that was I wouldn't do anything about peacocks. So they said, are they sacred to your idea? And I said, no, they can fly away if they have to. They said, well, we felt you needed to make a more general study of the whole San Gabriel Valley and not just Arcadia, site-specific, but not that specific. All the artists from Union Station up the Arroyo Seco to Pasadena attended workshops based at the Indian Museum. And a lot of the artworks along that current completed section of the line have references to the Indians. And naturally, I decided that I would look at them as well. To me, the foundation of the artwork are these basket-like forms, in much the same way that one can say that the foundation culture of the San Gabriel Valley was Indians. And the fact that these columns are supporting the bridge lent themselves to something coming up and maybe something spanning between them. And then an idea here to actually take the weaving pattern in the lower vessel form and then extend it up into the tower. Here's a computer study for this kind of basket weave, kind of the broken basket pulled apart with the train going through. And then they said, well, you know, you are aware that the steep bank is going to come down and almost swallow up these columns. And so I said, well, we should build a kind of kiva-like alcove around each of these. Tiling them would allow for the introduction of some kind of color. There was a desire to kind of try to treat the actual rail bed, and that was at this point that the idea was, well, why can't it be like a half a barrel or semicircular? I then proceeded with the idea that it be that, and would have some kind of woven basket-like form that would weave its way around.
In the very beginning, what we said to him was, you know, sort of go outside the box and come up with any idea, because we didn't want to put a lot of constraints on him in the very beginning, because we felt it was important for him to sort of work through that juice of what was the logical thing that he thought was important aesthetically.